And, when we conceptualized WinS, there were 4 pillars around which we structured the programs. One being attraction of talent, influencing, inspiring, and also investing in women talent for women in sales. And we need to also listen to the narratives of organizations who are in themselves setting benchmark practices and having, more and more women join their sales force, because changes of this sort, does not only require a strong strategy from the top, it also requires grit and passion to see through what all strategy you have put in place. And to showcase some of the benchmark practices that are happening, there's a body of work happening across industries. And we have 4 companies today in the spotlight who are going to share their narrative of what they are doing differently or incrementally and how the needles are moving. So first up, we have Aarti and Ritika from Nestle, and they are going to talk about what Nestle is doing in augmenting their sales force with more and more women talent. Ritika is the HR business partner for sales or business, pet care, adult nutrition. She is over 6.5 years experience in FMCG sector, where she has primarily worked as a business HR partner for sales, manufacturing, along with work on performance management, capability building, and diversity hiring. Aarti Bhardwaj is the DEI lead and also the employee well-being lead of Nestle India. She has over 15 years of experience in HR and IT services as well as FMCG industry. And she's worked in DEI, employee engagement, talent acquisition, and competency development. So over to you, Aarti and Ritika. We want to hear what Nestle India is doing in terms of getting more women in sales and how you are charting their career trajectory. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Purba. Thank you, Anjali. And thank you, People Connect, for this forum. Thank you, everyone who's joined us here today. I was listening into the previous panel discussion, and I'm still reverberating with all the energy that came in through that. That was simply amazing to listen to. So let me just maybe quickly share my screen, and please tell me whether it's visible. I'll tell you, I'll start by talking to you about what Nestle India is doing today. Sorry about that. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, Aarti, you're on.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so before we start off about what Nestle is doing especially for women in sales, a very quick overview of the South Asia region that we belong to, that Nestle India belongs to. Of course, as an organization, I assume we need no introduction. So just to give you all an idea of the kind of space that we work with. So we are part of a larger region, which is Nestle South Asia region. We have about 10,000 plus employees with about 6 legal entities. Our overall gender diversity in India white collar employees stands at 23%. With millennials and Gen Z, we are at 75%. We are headquartered in Gurgaon, now known as Gurugram, and which is where I am right now. We are publicly listed in India and Sri Lanka. And in all the 3 regions put together, the 3 countries, we have 11 factories, 9 in India, 1 in Sri Lanka, and 1 in Bangladesh. The most recent factory being the one in Sanand in Gujarat, where we have 60% plus diversity, including blue-collar workforce. We have 4 sales branches in India, which is in Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta, and in Mumbai. Let me quickly start to you about where the narrative for D&I starts for Nestle, and this is for Nestle in total. This is the purpose. We unlock the power of food to enhance quality of life for everyone today and for generations to come. And here is where our, the entire narrative for diversity begins with our values, which are rooted in respect. We have 4 values, which is respect for ourselves, respect for diversity, respect for others, and respect for the future. And all our, the D&I narrative, the D&I initiatives, and anything that we talk about in the D&I space stems from these 4 values of respect. And like I mentioned, it's an integral part of the company's culture that's based on respect. It's one of the ways we bring our purpose and values to life in three ways. Culture, which is how we work together as an organization, how we leverage on the D&I of our employees. Society, the way we act and engage with our stakeholders. And innovation, that is the way we think with our products and with our services for consumers and for customers. So this is to give you a backdrop of what we work on when it comes to D&I as Nestle globally and Nestle India as well. But just to give you all more perspective on what I'm talking about, especially in the diversity and gender diversity space, I'll take you on to something that we call our ecosystem of care, which tells you very briefly about the kind of policies and processes that we put in place. And like I think someone was mentioning in the previous panel, that we are moving towards a more gender inclusive and gender agnostic policies. Yes, when we started this journey of gender diversity, we began with very specific policies for women, in this space. But gradually, we've moved to making many of these policies gender inclusive. However, some policies continue to remain for women, and especially for women in the field, we've curated some set of policies, some set of initiatives that are purely for women in field. And while Ritika, my colleague, will tell you more about what it's like, women in what it's like working for a woman in field, I'll take you all more through the policies and what we've put in place for them, right? Of course, we've recently, revamped our parental policy, made it gender inclusive, primary caregiver leave of 26 and a secondary caregiver leave of 4 weeks, and this is across Nestle India. We recently, or last year, revamped our childcare policy, which was earlier for women employees only, and we've made it now gender inclusive for all employees of Nestle India. Some policies, like I mentioned, are for women only. We have a mom and care program for women who are expecting mothers. With there's a personalized guidance and care with specialists during the pregnancy time and after childbirth. There's also one initiative that we call Sanitate, which is specifically only for women in field. It is specially curated safety and hygiene kits for our women in field because they're out there the whole day. Their intimate hygiene is something that can get compromised, especially when you're working out in upcountry and so on. So we kept that in mind, took feedback from our women colleagues in the field, and came up with a specially curated kit for them, which Anjali and team actually help us with. So it's People Connect that we've partnered with Cut by Moms for this. There's a flexi working program as well for all office-based and field-based mothers who return after maternity. We've come up with a flexi working program for them as well, so that they can be with their child till the child turns 2. This is mostly in a consultation with the line manager. It's not that they're completely at home and not in the field. They come up with an arrangement that works best for both. We have business travel support for mothers till the child turns 2 as well, because we understand it's very difficult for a mother to leave their baby and travel when it's needed to travel outside their city. And the policy says that they can take the baby along with a caregiver, and travel and accommodation is then taken care of by the employer, which is us. There's some policies, again, like I mentioned, very specifically for women. So one of them is travel assistance for women in the field in that last trimester of pregnancy. So we have an employee resource group of women in field called Brave Hearts. And through this, we normally get a lot of feedback on what's working, what's not working. And we then come up with some changes in our policies and processes based on that. And one feedback that we received was in their last trimester of pregnancy, they find it very difficult to travel, using other modes of transport. And if there could be an additional allowance that we could give them in that last month to help them travel, either, keep a driver or, an additional allowance that will help them financially as well. So we came up with something that is over and above their, fixed market conveyance for their last 3 months of pregnancy. And of course, the last one is for everyone, where we give them all a gift hamper or a gift voucher before they proceed on maternity leave. So these are some of the things that we've put in place for women here, especially for women in field sales. And now it's over to Ritika to talk to you more about what it's like to work in Nestle in field sales.
Thanks, Aarti. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
So, hi everyone. I'm Ritika, currently working as the HR business partner for sales at Nestle. So, while continuing from Aarti, we have laid down strong fundamentals and policy basics for our women in the field. Our entire journey in terms of having more and more women in frontline field roles has been amazing. There are certain things that we manage or do or execute to make sure that women have a strong onboarding or induction into the business right from the day when they join. There is a mandatory policy that we put in place wherein one day in the field has to be worked by the new candidate before they accept the offer for joining as a sales officer in the organization. We put them in touch with some of our senior women area sales managers so that they understand the challenges of the role and also have right expectations once they've set their foot in the field. There is a tracking of a health hygiene scorecard that we maintain at a branch level for all our distributors to make sure that our distribution touchpoints, our high retailer touchpoints, our CDs, our wholesale hubs have good sanitation facilities. And we make sure that we track it regularly so that in case there is more feedback which is coming from the field or from the regional managers, we work on it there and then itself. There is also a mapping of territories that we've done. We have around 95 managerial positions in the organization and 300 plus sales officers and executives working in the organization. So we've done a mapping of all the territories which are women friendly, which have connectivity in terms of infrastructure. There are better road, rail, flying opportunities available. The crime rate is not very much. By analyzing all these factors, we have maintained a repository of territories which can be earmarked as green territories, and these are the areas where we put our women right onto the field. In terms of getting a buy-in from the managers in the field, we also have a D&I council in each of the branches, wherein we have senior people from the field working towards meeting once in a month and working towards what are the areas which we can work on to build a highly inclusive workplace culture for these women in the field. The focus is on health and hygiene. Like Aarti already mentioned, I think we are one of the organizations in the FMCG industry who do certain things like these to create a lot of focus and making sure that we build it that way. Aarti, since time is less, we'll just move to the next slide. So very happy to share that what started off as just a 6% in 2010 is now at around 20% in 2022, which we can proudly say one of the best in the entire FMCG industry. So while our policies and basics are there, how do we really ensure that our women get the right careers in Nestle? Very simply, we've tried to put it in one slide. We follow a 3B approach, which is build, borrow, and buy. When it comes to build, there are 4 things that we do. There are targeted talent discussions that we do for our key women talent and decide what are the kind of exposures, roles, and assignments that they should get at an organization level. A mentoring network exists, which is again an all-by initiative, but we make sure that we tag some of our best women to senior leaders in the organization who help them, guide them, and support them in their professional journey. Our branches have a women-centric development journey in place wherein they decide for every woman who is out there in the field what their next career step should be for the next 2 years. And mission assignments, again specific to Nestle, exist in the organization to basically give exposure to other verticals to our women, which essentially flows into our borrow strategy. There are lots of cross-functional movements that we do for our women, either from sales to marketing, either from traditional trade to alternate channels, or either from field roles to category roles as well, so that they get a wholesome experience of working in generating demand as a vertical in Nestle and can build their career accordingly. And finally, under buying strategy, of course, there's a meritocracy-based hiring that we do across all roles for our field. We invest a lot in campus programs. So that's where we provide internships, target the entire pool of women and hire them accordingly. Participation in forums and conclaves like this also helps. And obviously, an equal pay policy ensures that we're able to recruit the right women, because of which, again, we can proudly say we have been able to increase the number of women in managerial roles by 33% over the last year in this particular year. It will be best to hear from one of our members itself. So we have a short video to play if time permits. If not, then we can skip it also. Purva, is it okay if we play it?
Yes, let's do it. And
that's the last, so we wrap up after that.
Sure, sure.
Hello everyone, I'm Ankita. I'm currently working in the role of NCR1 ASM based at Gurgaon. I started my Nestle journey in May 2013 in East Branch as sales officer based at Jamshedpur, where I was handling 5 distributors, 2 in mainline town and 3 in upcountry town. I got promoted as sales executive in May 2016, and then I was shifted to North Branch in September 2016 in CCSD team. I started my CCSD journey as a category support role, where I have learned about the different works and processes of category managers, schemes, budget calculation, QIR, new product launch, and many other things, along with the coordination with different stakeholders. I also got the opportunity to work as a channel executive in large format channel as well as in small format channel, where I have learned about the different channels, different programs, program efficacy, and lot more other things. Then I got promoted as area sales manager in April 2021 based at Varanasi. There I have worked with 4 sales officers, and I have also handled 8 districts and 14 distributors. It was a wonderful learning experience, and I learned a lot from my RSM, Mr. Ritesh Kumar sir. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Ritesh sir for showing faith in me, for all his mentorship, trust, guidance, and for his unconditional support. Recently, I was transferred to Gurgaon as NCR1 ASM, and I was relocating to Gurgaon in this week itself. To conclude, in my 9+ year of Nestle, I got the opportunity to work in different functions and have also worked under different leaders. That has helped in my overall personal and professional growth. Mr. Prashant Duggar was my first ASM, and Mr. Tarun Bandyopadhyay sir was my first RSM, from whom I have learned the ABC of sales. I have learned the nitty-gritties of CCSD from Mr. G. Venkat sir and Mr. Shalan sir. I got the opportunity to work under the guidance of Mr. Ritesh sir, where I have learned the people management role. I would also like to thank Mr. Sanjay Narang sir, Mr. Sanjay Kaul sir, and Mr. Atanu Banerjee sir for showing faith in me and giving me all these opportunities. Thank you, everyone.
So yeah, the last slide just talks about, just like Aarti, Ankita, we have many women in the field doing various roles, right from e-commerce to other customer management to being sales officers, executives, leading e-commerce, leading metro territories, and all of them have had flourishing careers. So happy to be in a team which supports women in the field and which encourages these numbers as well. And thank you for listening to us patiently. I'm sorry for exceeding the time.
No issues, Ritika, Aarti. This is so inspiring, and it's so heartening to see the needles moving and you making an impact. And these faces say it all. All the best to all your endeavors going forward, and to a stronger sales team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So next up, our next company in the spotlight is Ultratech, which is one of the stalwarts in the Aditya Birla Group. And to present the Ultratech Cement story, we have Tanisha Saraf. Tanisha is welcome, Tanisha.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, so Tanisha heads talent staffing and employee branding for Ultratech Cement. And prior to this, she was the group head for talent succession management at Aditya Birla Group. In her current role, Tanisha passionately focuses on preparing the organization to become future talent ready through strategic interventions and building a culture of quality hiring, process discipline, and tech enabled hiring. Over to you, Tanisha. We would want to understand what Ultratech Cement is doing in the domain of women in sales.
Thank you, Purva. I'll just present my deck.
You want me to take it up or you can present it?
I will. Just give me a moment.
Sure, sure.
Is this visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. I think the organization that I represent today is a very complex from a diversity standpoint because we are largely a cement building organization, and for long it has been a thought that women in such an industry really cannot find a place. And I think from where we were a couple of years back to where we are today, it's a proud moment to share with you that today we have factories, we have units, sales teams which are run completely by women team. And somewhere collectively as an organization, we have been able to break some of those myths. And it is interesting for me to share with you how this journey has really traversed for all of us at Ultratech. So what were the challenges that we faced? First, all our locations, whether I talk about my plants, my factories, are in very remote locations. If I talk about my sales team, they really have to go deep into the nook and corner of the country in order to sell cement or any building solutions. So wherever there is construction, we need to be present, whether in terms of building our product as well as selling our product. And therefore, finding an opportunity or ways by which we can have women join both our plant workforce or our sales workforce was a big hurdle for us. Second was an infrastructure support. I was hearing my colleague from Nestle really talk about, and really infrastructure for sales women team is a challenge. Where do you find washrooms when you're taking those long beats in your sales call? And especially during those really difficult days of the month, where do you pause? Where do you sit and recreate yourself, rejuvenate yourself? Is a challenge and was a challenge for us. I would say is not no longer a challenge, but was a big challenge for us. Third was business was growing phenomenally. So obviously, everyone thinks if business is doing so well with the way we are structured, with the kind of people that we have in our workforce, why do we really need to shift the ways of working? And that was a big hurdle for us to overcome. And last but not the least are the managers. So like you say, if everything is going well, we are working with all men in our team and we are doing well, why should we change our ways of working? Or, having managers who find it very difficult to deal with women, to interact with women. They can have those camaraderie with their male colleagues, but how do I build that relationship? How can I be rough in my conversation, or how can I firm in my conversation with my female colleagues? So we were really struggling with so many challenges. And we said, if we really want to make inroads into building a equal organization and diverse organization, we will have to address each of these pillars one by one. So where did we start with? And, for any organization, any initiative, if you don't have a leadership buy-in and they don't walk the talk, they don't talk about it, they don't ensure their teams deliver it, it becomes very difficult. So the first step that we took, and this is a journey that we traversed in last 1.5 years of consciously driving diversity agenda for Ultratech. Our first step was to build the DNI Council. And I think even Nestle, my colleagues, were, as I heard them say, have built it. So I think that's the right place where we started. And having started it right, as I talked to you about how we won over our challenges. So we built this council at two levels, one at a leadership level at a business apex, and the other is at a zonal level, at a unit level for sales and for manufacturing both. And we clearly laid down what is our agenda. And these were the 5 areas that we wanted to bring a difference and attract more women into the workforce. Once having identified these, we converted each of them into programs. And these are the 8 different programs which we are running today. One is we made our employees recommend other female employees. So we strongly believe if you have found this place to be a friendly place, a woman-friendly place to work in, you will advocate this place for other employees. And therefore, we ask them to recommend more employees, women employees joining us. Second is we identified roles where we wanted to bring in women, where we thought in our phase 1, it will be very easy for us to attract women employees. So we targeted town A roles where we said it will be easy for us to attract and find women who stay in nearby locations to join us. In our phase 2, we started identifying the zonal HO level roles where women could be attracted in. And when we talk about women, we are talking about women in 2 or in 3 cadres. One is obviously from campus, you hire a huge workforce, fresh candidates. Second is we said we will bring in people at middle management level consciously. So today we have many regional heads who are led by women employees. Third, we said, why not get women who have left the workplace a couple of years back and want to come back? So return to work women. We have now started targeting that pool of people in A-class towns, in metro locations, and now we've started looking at B-class towns, how we can attract women out there. Third is train and deploy. So there is a layer below the junior management who we really call out as staff employees. And we find there are a lot of women in the vicinities who can be trained on vocational skills and can then be given a place into our sales team or into our manufacturing locations. So we said we will invest in building their vocational skills through training. And after we have built their confidence that, yes, you can work in a professional workspace, we said we will bring them on board. So that was the third initiative we did. Fourth was infra readiness. So we went out, we spoke to our distributors, we identified the washrooms for dedicated washrooms for women when they go on their sales beat call, and places where they could rest when they need that resting place. We also have clear guidelines articulated on saying how will women travel in the night if there is a need for them to travel at all. So we have created clear guidelines around that, ensuring that the safety of the women is taken care of. Our fifth focus was on building an inclusive mindset within our line managers. We have run multiple workshops and we continue to do that as new managers join our workforce. What it is to be an inclusive manager, what benefits do you get? How can you become, if you are finding that to be a challenge, to talk to a woman, to interact on a daily basis, how can you do? So we have helped the managers also to overcome their challenges. Recently, we are launching a diversity inclusion awards for all our managers who have demonstrated inclusive behaviors, who have taken women employees in their teams and have engaged with them in a rightful manner so that attrition is not there, and the women we have hired are continue to be in the workplace. Then we have built a program which is on women mentors. So we have created a pool of all our senior women leaders, and they are the outreach team to which any women employee in the organization can go out to have a mentoring session, to have a dialogue session, whether it is just to connect or to have a career conversation. And that links me into our next program, which is on careers and recognition. So women who are taking up roles of leading teams, leading projects, special projects, we ensure we recognize them in rightful forums so that it becomes an echo for other women that they can do it. If these can, why should they stay behind? At this stage on careers, we are building our initiatives, strengthening our initiatives, so to say. Largely on careers, we are seeing how we are picking up women who are 3+ years in a certain role and consciously trying to move them into newer opportunities. Sometimes they become reluctant because it's a new role and they don't know whether they'll be able to do it. They are quite comfortable where they are and they are doing well. So we help them break these barriers in their own mind and help them take up those roles. We talk about women who have taken up these roles, how they have done it, so that it builds a sense of confidence in these women and help them take the next stride in their career. And while doing all of this, we continue to take feedback from our women employees. We continue to ask them what is the level of belongingness, what are the feedback, what are the improvisations we can continue doing them. And what we hear, we try in our various programs, try implementing them. While this is happening for all the women employees who are into the organization, many of them enter into the maternity phase. And the bigger challenge is that how will we find a place in the workplace once we have delivered our babies? How will we return back? Will we be able to do it? And therefore, we have rolled out multiple initiatives in that space. Some of them have been called out by my colleagues in Nestle. Very similar to that, we have a clear reimbursement plan for local travel to work during your days of pregnancy. We have multiple leave options. We have multiple flexible working options for women before going on maternity leave, after coming back from maternity leave. It's a choice. You can work part-time, you can work from satellite locations, you can work full-time, but continue in the role, a role similar to the role that you were doing. The advantage of us being a part of Aditya Birla Group conglomerate is if an employee comes back to Ultratech, if an employee of Ultratech is returning back from maternity leave, that woman employee can get role in any business of Aditya Birla Group if there is not a suitable role available within Ultratech itself. And we at Ultratech try and ensure a couple of weeks before the person is to come back to work, what are the role options? We dialogue with the individual. These are the various role options you can take, helping the individual take a rightful choice. We also ensure the individual a protection on the performance rating, because that's one dilemma individuals go through. When I'm back, I may get a poor rating, but we give them a holiday period of a year before they can, run back with speed on their performance. We have counselors to help our women employees on maternity leave, connect with them as they face back to work. They will have a lot of challenges of managing the home front, managing the kid, going through some of those, called out depression moments. So our psychologists, our counselors help them override these challenges as they get back to work. And up to 2 years of attainment of their child age, if they need to travel for any work-related outstation travel, they can take the child as well as a caregiver, and this entire cost is borne by the company. We have also tied up with a daycare system, daycare provider, who can help our employees, put their kids in their child into that daycare as they come to work.
Tanisha,
So from
need to finish.
Yes, I will. And finally, I'll skip coming to my last slide. From where we started a year back, we were at a very low 3% of women in the workplace. Today, we have risen. We have challenges ahead, but as we build a workplace with an inclusive mindset, we are quite confident. Like we have created a full workforce of women teams, we will continue to create many more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. And, change of this nature, it does not happen through just a flash in a pan kind of initiative. It requires a rigor and a structure and a process. And it's so heartening to see that organizations like yours is putting their entire might behind the cause. And the needles are moving. Challenges at every workspace is different. And but it's heartening to see the kind of work and intent behind the efforts that are being put in. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for your time, and happy to have Aditya Birla Group and Ultratech Cement today here at the platform.
Thank you, Purna.
Next up in the spotlight is Godrej Capital, and none other than the CHRO herself, Ruhi Pandey, is here with us. Welcome, Ruhi.
Hi.
Hi. And Ruhi, we would want to understand the whole lot of transformational strategy that you are implementing at Godrej Capital, and what challenges you faced, and how are things moving, and how do you envision the women in sales piece at Godrej Capital. Looking forward to hearing from you, right from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Over to you, Ruhi.
Yeah. So Godrej Capital was a startup. I joined the Godrej Group about 6 years back, and the group stands for, is a torchbearer, is a flag bearer of diversity and inclusion as an agenda. And I heard someone say sometime back in the previous panel that diversity, equity, and inclusion needs to be a strategy and not just something which the HR team is driving. And in Godrej, I see that. I see a huge amount of resonation between my fundamental values and the values of the group. So if we can have the deck on. So how DEI helped shape our startup, where we were a startup about 3 years back. Now, of course, we're gaining scale. We started the organization with a very clear vision of where we wanted to reach. Now, a lot of organizations have stacks and a very clear strategy for what their numbers should look like, what their technology should look like, but very rarely do people get an opportunity to start with a very clear cultural element. So we were fortunate enough to start with a very clear compass where we said what is the kind of purpose and impact we want to create, what should be the focus on performance, what are our values. So if you see on the left side of the board, we've got values saying customer obsession, acting entrepreneurial, collaboration, thinking big, be bold, trust, which the Godrej Group stands for, and showing respect to people. DEI very smoothly falls under showing respect because we are very clear in saying that we want people to get their original selves to work every day. And that talks to the entire ethos of inclusion. Can we move to the next slide, please? So before I jump into DEI, I just wanted to talk through for a minute about our overall people and talent philosophy. Our vision is to become the most diverse and inclusive organization in BFSI. Traditionally, BFSI is not an industry which has a big amount of representation from women, but we wanted to change that. And I'm very happy to report that as of date, we are at about 30% overall org diversity. 50% of that is in our leadership. Women feel very inspired when they come on board and see women leaders right at the top. In fact, there was an anecdote that we were hiring for a head of infrastructure from a PSU. And one of the key reasons she joined is because all 3 people who interviewed her were women. So she felt that there is actually no glass ceiling. If I join here, the fact that I'm a woman will not hinder my growth. We want to be a great place offering excellent employee experience, a very high level of integrity and code of conduct. We're a very culture-driven company. So behind everything we do, we strongly focus on our tenets. So it's just not important that what is getting delivered, which is the numbers, but how it is getting delivered. Are you being equally considerate to your peers? Are you being a team player? Are you looking at leading your team well? So that's very important to us. We want to be a very agile, transparent, and innovative organization. We are a late starter in the BFSI industry. We want to catch up. We have ambitions of going very big. And some things which we did for it is we've created flatter structures. Our structure is at least 2-3 levels below the overall industry standard. We have a quarterly management framework, so employees get faster feedback, and we drive bottom-up innovation through sourcing ideas from our employees. We also are we are a company which is focusing a lot on growing leaders from within. And I'll share more examples about how we have grown women careers as we go along the presentation. But we want to hire, engage, and reward with a long-term view in mind. We want people to come to us, stay with us, and have meaty careers. And thereby, we always hire for potential. We are hiring employees ahead of the curve. We've, in fact, hired our entire top management team for roles which they've never done before. And that's kind of paying off. Also, from a generational diversity perspective, about 85% of our overall organization is millennials or Gen Z. So we are a very young company. And like I've already told you, about 30% of folks are women. Specifically coming to women in sales, I'll report the numbers as we get to the slide. We can move to the next slide, please. So DEI vision is very clear. We want to foster a workplace where individual differences thrive collectively to create value for all stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? Our partners, our employees, our shareholders, people who buy our shares, our investors, our chairman. So it is very clearly proven by research that cognitive diversity creates higher value for all stakeholders. And we've seen that come to life in a startup of Godrej Capital. We want to become the most diverse, inclusive, and equitable organization in BFSI, where our culture is brought alive in workplace practices, policies, infrastructure, and mindsets and the way of being. One of the things we've realized is that it's not only important to get women on board. Once you get them, it's very important to understand from them what are the challenges they are facing in their day-to-day lives, create policies and infrastructure which help them come out and grow with us. So we will come to that in a short while. Coming to a very specific journey of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as you all are aware, but I'll reinforce that diversity is nothing but representation. Equity is how do you bring everyone to a common or a level playing field, which is a big challenge. And inclusion is how do you get people to participate via conversations and culture. So what we've started doing is right from the start, we appointed a very diverse representative. So we have 2 very strong women board members. We have an MC, which is 50% gender diversity. Diversity is not just an agenda which the HR team drives. We've got diversity goals, which are a part of leadership and our strategic executive committee's goal sheets. So whether it's getting on board more women, whether it's retaining more women, whether it's engaging more women, those goals are shared. We also realized early on that we can't win this battle alone. Partnerships are very important to us. So as we talk, we've partnered with Pride Circle for getting a lot of LGBTQ talent on board. We've partnered with multiple diversity representatives. People Connect is one of them, so they can get best practices to us. For certain roles, we say we want women only. And then we go to specific vendors who can help us onboard women, People Connect being one of them. Piloted the approach specifically in our operations with PWDs. So we are also working extensively with getting on board people with disabilities. So I'm very heartened because just last month we recruited and onboarded a person with the leg mobility issues in my own team. So we said we want to start by setting an example. So in HR, we kind of earmarked a few roles where we want to get only PWD talent. So looking at gender, PWD, LGBTQ, all cohorts of diversity to make this a truly diverse place. We also encourage women referrals. So we've realized that once we get on board smart and bright women in sales, in operations, in risk, it's very important for us to ask them for more referrals. And referral is a very, very strong source for hiring more women. Of course, we give a sweetener to encourage more people to nominate or give us referrals of getting women talent from the industry. This industry is fraught with not having too many ready-made people who can come in and join us. So when we want more gender diversity, especially in function like sales, we have to look the campus route. We have to look at getting a lot more referrals. We have to do a lot of headhunting to get more women talent, and we are quite committed to doing that. We have a gender affirmation policy, which basically facilitates people who are transitioning from one gender to the other. We pay for that, and that makes their their kind of journey with us very comfortable. We have had a few cases where people have taken the gender affirmation policies and they've transitioned very smoothly as they were working with us from a male to a female or a female to a male. We sensitize their teams because it also involves changing of their names, changing of the way they want their sexual identity to be perceived. They also want us to change their email IDs. So once we have these gender transition changes which are happening in our organization, we go across and sensitize the teams. When these people come out to their teams, we facilitate discussions and we sensitize their teams to understand how these gender changes will impact their work identity. We've hired women during pregnancy. We have to set examples. We've promoted women who have come back from pregnancy. We've got a very clear analytical work which happens in the background to ensure that women get a fair share, whether it's in performance ratings, whether it's in the number of promotions which happen. We ensure that at no point of time are women shortchanged, because I've realized that sometimes it's easy to get women on board, but women also come in with a lot of career aspirations. So how do you ensure that at no point of time biases are coming at place? We also do a lot of sensitization around biases at work. When these sensitization sessions happen, we realize that biases beyond gender sometimes get come to the fore. For example, simple things like hiring people from a particular religion. So equity is not only about gender, it's beyond gender. How do you get along and hire people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, introvert versus extrovert? So a lot of biases come to the fore when we have sensitization sessions, especially with our drive to get more LGBTQ candidates on board. We've realized that this sensitization is genuinely required. We recently launched She Rises, which is our women ERG. And I wanted to share with you guys a very heartening story. We had a bright and young woman from sales who came up on the dais and shared her experience with us. And one of the things she shared is around the time when the menstrual cycle occurs, because she's in sales and she's traveling a lot, it's a genuine challenge to have access to washrooms and thereby, access to be able to change during her menstrual cycle. We also see a lot of allyship from men. So the ERG came back with 2-3 very specific recommendations. One of them was that during menses, women want work from home. So we've just launched a policy where we've said that out of the days of menstrual cycle, all women across board can work 3 days from home. And that's got a lot of traction and people have appreciated it. We also realized we don't have all the answers. So the ERG is an advocate who talks to women, who facilitates safe spaces for women. They come back with suggestions for us, and we take those suggestions and create policies, create benefits, which help women work better. 30% of the overall ERG is men. And we've realized that if we want to succeed at this game of being a more inclusive organization, allyship for men is a very critical source of winning for us. We have a lot of initiatives which we take, which are centrally anchored, because we've realized when you leave them loose and allow these things to simmer in the region, sometimes they fall flat. So Pride Month, Mental Health Day, Women's Day, getting more women to come and talk to our women employees about how they've broken the glass ceiling. The entire idea is creating and generating conversations, and that really helps. We got some of our LGBTQ members to come and speak to the entire organization about their experience, what they face, some of the challenges they faces with society. We also realize that organizations are a microcosm of the larger society. So any change we make at the workplace encourages people to be more bold when they go out there in the society. So some of the people who came out LGBTQ candidates specifically, spoke about how the organization gave them the encouragement to come out openly and speak to their families about their sexual identities. Next slide, please. So the numbers are very clear. We have 50% representation on board. We have 43% representation of women at the leadership level, 42% at our Stratex, and 33% across the organization. We are, as I talk, hiring more LGBTQ people. It's very heartening that we've recently given an offer, and we'll be soon looking to onboard a trans woman in my team itself. So as we get more people in from the LGBTQ community, we're also realizing that we perhaps don't know a lot, and we rely on our partners to come and talk to us about it. Some of the things, some of the policies we have created to make ourselves a more equitable organization are about gender reassignment, surgery costs, fertility treatments for us are covered under Mediclaim. Partners of LGBTQ communities are also covered under Mediclaim and all other policies. We give out loans to same-sex partners, which is something which is unprecedented and unheard of in the industry, but we made these exceptions and we give out loans. The law doesn't support it, but we've decided to be the torch bearers, and simple things like just giving a housing loan to people from the same-sex partners encourages a lot. We had in fact launched a 6-month maternity leave long ahead of when it even became a law. We've recently revamped and launched a 1-month paternity leave. Once women come back after the 6 months post-maternity leave, we also offer flexible working because we realize that women need support. Menstrual support policy I just spoke about. One of the things we also realize is when women come back, they want to travel. And it was becoming a challenge for them to travel without having some support from the organization. So we've launched a caregiver travel policy, which states that women who are returning till 2 years, till the child become 2 years, can bring along a caregiver for all kind of outbounds, for any kind of conferences, and we pay the cost of that. So that's helped a lot. We've also realized that women need to work late.
And can we take another minute and finish?
Yes, I'll be done. So let's jump into sales as a cohort, because that's what we are talking about. We realize that we can't go ahead in our journey of getting more women on board if we don't have women in sales, because that's the largest cohort. This industry doesn't have a lot of women employed in mortgage. So we took the commitment from the senior leadership, and very happy to report that we made some special exceptions. In some cases, we allowed women to work out of a different town, but handle a region. So we've got business heads, sales head, alliances heads. We provide cab facilities because it becomes difficult for women to travel. And we realize that, so we've created a program for women to have access to cabs when they work late. We post all roles openly, and we have a very specific policy that when a woman leaves, we want a woman only to support her. And of course, we spoke about flexibility. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. I'm going to skip this because we are falling short of time. Just move ahead. Culture is a very important pillar to build diversity. Leadership personally sponsors this. We speak about diversity at all or at all forums. And HR becomes like a culture champion. We coach people managers. We work with them on how to handle women. And our journey is still on. It's not all the way to there. But I'm quite glad that in building a startup, we took DEI as a very core anchor. And we are heartened to be awarded by the Great Places to Work, Best 50 Workplaces to Work for Women, ET Best Places to Work for Women. So I'm quite heartened by all these external recognitions come our way, and our journey is still on. Happy to take any questions as there may be. That brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Ruhi, and such powerful policies. Some of them, I think, we're hearing for the first time, and all the best to you and your team in taking the journey ahead. And I'm sure you're going to do great in the coming years and be one of the, showstoppers in getting women back to sales functions.
Thanks for your wishes.
Thank you, Ruhi. Next up, we have Kotak Life, and from Kotak Life, can we have Ruchira on the screen? Yeah. Welcome, Ruchira. Ruchira is the CHRO at Kotak Life, and we want to hear from her how she is building a team of inclusive sales, an inclusive team of more and more women in sales. Insurance has been notorious for being a difficult sales role per se. So we are very intrigued to know, Ruchira, what you are doing at Kotak Life. And a bit about Ruchira. She has over 25 years of experience spanning across diverse industries and multiple functions. Not only she has worked in human resources, she's worked in new product development, business excellence, knowledge management, and business ethics. So over to you, Ruchira. We want to hear what Kotak Life Insurance is doing in the domain of getting more women into sales.
Thanks, Purba, and thanks, Anjali and Hema, for giving me the opportunity. Great. So we completely believe in careers for life. And if you enter Kotak, we don't let people go. And the unique piece that has happened for us is women enter at a very great strength at the entry levels. So for sales, one of the channels only for management trainees, we have had almost 40% women entering at the entry level. Unfortunately, what has been happening is for women, the life in their career is so entrenched with the life outside the workplace that many of them then fall away and start a different life, which is more of a professional, more than professional. They get into the personal space. And Purba, you spoke about that, about the rigor, the process, the structure that is required to build the women power in an organization. We completely believe in that. And I'm going to talk about only two of the processes that we have adopted to take women and let them stay with the organization and build a strong career with Kotak Life. But apart from that, there is also a loads of dollops of personal space and personal rapport that needs to be created. I'll start with a small story, which is my personal story. One of the women. So what I'm trying to say is, before I start the story, is what I'm trying to say is, apart from rigor, process, structure, to build the career for women in Kotak Life, we also have a very personal touch with these women. And I'm going to narrate 2 minutes, one of the stories. One of the has been with us for about 5 years, and she took a decision to resign and leave because she was wanting to conceive for a long time and she was not able to. And there were a lot of IVF procedures that were happening, a lot of pressure from work as well as from home. And she said, I'm not able to take care of this piece and I'm not able to do justice to both. And hence I'm going to step away. My team gets into these conversations, especially for the middle level of women, when they are wanting to leave because of issues which are very, very personal and very, very emotional too. In this case, I got into a discussion with her, had been an okay performer. It's not that she was an amazing performer also. Why I'm saying this is that we don't do only for certain set of people. We do this, the personal touch, the process, the structure is for everyone. So this conversation with this lady was about saying, what after you conceive and the child grows up, what after that? Do you enjoy your career? Do you enjoy working? And she says, yes, that's why I've been working so hard and I have really made a mark for myself, but I'm just not able to cope up. I had to narrate certain instances from my past saying, when did I think of really stepping away, because I had to take care of my daughter and she was, all those fights that happens between husbands and wives saying, who's really going to take care of the child at a particular point in time. And I remember somebody telling me, saying that, hey, when you step away, even if to buy a lipstick, you have to really be dependent on your husband. I said, oh my God, that makes sense. Let me stay put and let me save, let me earn for myself also. And these are the kind of anecdotes when told to women about from your life, it makes a lot of difference in their thinking. And the way then they pursue that thought back to home and are able to have a conversation with their family to also support them to stay and build their career. She stayed, and now really happy to say that both from professional as well as personal point of view, things are really moving very smoothly. Now, I wanted to talk about two processes. If you may go ahead to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we have 27% of women, we have 26% of women currently in Kotak Life. But one of the things we have realized that if we have to keep building the percentage and keep making it higher, we have to also keep hiring more and more women. So in 2023 till now, we have of all the hiring that we have done, 27% of them have been women. In one of the sales channels, as I mentioned earlier, 40% of the fresh hires have been women. The topmost team of 10 people, the Mancom, out of 10 people, 3 of us are women. Apart from me, the chief technology officer is a woman, chief investments officer is a woman. And the 3 of us are really driving this agenda along with our male colleagues. And that agenda is something which is really not being driven in a way of saying that, only women. It's a very meritocracy-driven agenda. It is very equity-driven agenda. It is about saying that everybody has a chance to make a career with Kotak Life. And we want more women to join Kotak Life because they really, truly make a difference. Now, 2 of the processes that I'm going to touch upon, one of it is about attracting more and more women at the middle level, as I mentioned. So at the top, about 3 of us are there in the management committee. At the bottom, we are almost 40 to 45% of women are women. It's in the middle tier that we are facing an issue. So we said one of the things that we want to do is hire more people within those middle layers. Can you go to the next one, please? So as a process, what we have started doing is this entire only women, all women job fairs, which is about effort to empower. We call it effort to #effort-to-empower. And we drive it with Facebook and LinkedIn. We had kept only one criteria for registration, which is that the candidate needs to be a woman and she needs to be a graduate. The first time then when we ran, we received almost 1,000+ applications. What we did was, in order to keep their mindshare, we quickly went there and in the next 5 days, we had, actually next 2 days, we had interviews done by the panels for all these people, and we shortlisted across all functions, sales, HR, customer service, online sales. We had people who had women who are joining us. And we decided, based on the structured and a very and a good response, we said we are going to continue it every quarter on this all women job fair. Please do talk about it to your friends and colleagues, because in my peers in Kotak Life, and these 2 women that I spoke to you about, one of them actually started her career as a management trainee, and she's now part of the Mancom. The other lady who's the CTO, Kirti Patil, she has been with us for past 20 years. So people, when men or women, they have really a great chance to build a career, and as we call it, careers for life. So once you enter, we would find ways and means to retain you, to grow you, to develop you, and to see that you really chart your own path. And also, build an ecosystem around you. What I'm not going to talk about today is what Godrej and Aditya Birla and Nestle have already spoken about, about supporting the new mothers, about providing policy for flexi workplace, work times, also workplace, also, supporting new mothers in terms of taking sessions for us. All that is happening. All that is also that Kotak Life does. But we really pride ourselves in building career for people. And hence for that, the second program that we're running, and you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We call it Transcendence. It is a women leadership development journey. We started it 2 years ago. and we have been building on it. This year, we have about 75 people in there, all women. 50 of them are mentees. And most of them are from sales. And these are the middle-level women. And they are being mentored by 25 of very senior people in Kotak Life. We have involved people outside of Kotak Life to also come and talk about their own journeys, their own experiences, so that people understand that a glass ceiling which looks very, very realistic can really be broken with an ecosystem of people when the people come together and work with you. So the purpose really was to understand the unique challenges that women are facing in their career in this middle level and enable them so that they're able to really look beyond those challenges and chart a path for themselves. So there were the elements that were involved. First was self-awareness. We ensured that they went through a very powerful tool, and we call it Powerful Life. It was done with support of an external partner to understand their own powers, their own feminine powers, and how they can strengthen them, how they can develop those to really chart their growth path, both at a professional level and also in their personal spaces. Mentoring I spoke about, so they are being mentored by seniors in Kotak Life. There is an active involvement of managers also. Managers, and what earlier also three of our peers spoke about, the company spoke about, it is really important that managers, men or women, really are party to their development. There have been experiential workshops for them to understand about their own personal branding, about shifting, limiting beliefs, behaviors, and of course, exposure to women CXOs from within and outside. And I must share with you that all 75 of them are still with us. And I am sure that in the next 3 to 5 years, some of them are really going to take up higher responsibilities or even earlier and grow within Kotak Life. Purba, thank you so much. That's it from my side.
That was amazing, Ruchira. And it's so heartening to see the human part of you as a leader and as an individual. And I think it speaks a lot about how the organization also relates to their talent at workspaces, because it's all about that human touch, because it all takes that one or two simple words of encouragement and empathy that can make or break a career of a person, if they have the organization with them. Thank you so much, Ruchira, for your time, and thank you for keeping up to the time, and wish you and your team very best in your journey.